Hey everyone, welcome to an Unexpected Armchair Athletes live stream. Here I am, 10:30, doing homework, probably about to go to bed or watch a show or something. And then CMC gets traded, arguably the most popular running back, the most productive running back in fantasy PPR anywhere, honestly, in most fantasy leagues, just because of his sheer usage when he's healthy. He gets traded from the Panthers to the 49ers, a very run heavy and run friendly scheme under Kyle Shanahan over in San Francisco. Let's talk about it. CMC gets traded. Before we get going, make sure you like this video and subscribe. It's going to help me a ton as I do plenty of fantasy analyses and apparently breaking news now, case studies, and answer all of your fantasy questions in the comment section below. So throughout this stream, it's going to be a shorter one, but pop your questions in the comment section and I will get to you as fast as humanly possible. And I will be as thorough as humanly possible. Follow us on all social medias. Those are going to be in the description and in the description of other videos as well. And also make sure you check out the Start 2 Sit 1 YouTube short series we have going on this channel as well. So now let's get into what on earth just happened. What just happened with CMC and how does it impact your fantasy team? There is a ripple effect here. It's not just about, oh, I think the Niners are going to be really good. And while I talk about that, let's look at the comment section. Cam Erickson, happy birthday, buddy. That's probably a pretty good birthday present for you, man. CMC going to your team and already a very run-heavy scheme. You get one of the most, if not the most productive running back and fantasy running back for sure when healthy. And then Joseph Palacios, let's go Niners, Super Bowl coming soon. Hey, they already almost made it to the Super Bowl without, it was Raheem Mostert at that point along with some other guys. So yeah, this is a scary team from a football standpoint in general, from an NFL fan. Looking at this team, I think they just grabbed the NFC West. I think they already had it. The Seahawks have been impressive. The Cardinals, the defense showed up tonight, so they got their third win on the year. And the Rams have been just straight up disappointing. Let's just talk about this. Let's talk about this Carolina team in general, and then we'll move over to the 49ers, what I think will impact their team. And then ultimately, we're going to talk about how CMC is going to be impacted, Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell. Should I trade Kamara for CMC? If you can get that deal right now, man, I'm going to tell you why CMC, his value is going up a ton. So I'll get to that in a moment, Joseph. Debo and CMC is unfair. It's very unfair because Debo is also somebody who's using the run and pass game, Cameron. I agree. So Carolina is having a fire sale. Let's talk about the Panthers. Let's talk about a team that has been god-awful so far. Baker Mayfield, the former #1 overall pick from just a few years ago, not doing anything. Then let's fast forward to week 6. Robbie Anderson gets in an argument with the wide receivers coach. He is gone after the incident with the Panthers wide receiver coach, the interim head coach who came in after Matt Rule got fired. Are you seeing a theme here? A lot of people leaving, getting traded. Just plenty of fluctuation and turnover when it comes to this Carolina Panthers team, both on the field and off. So Robbie Anderson goes, gets kicked out of the game, and ends up getting traded to the Cardinals. Panthers are going to tank for the #1 pick. Not sure they're going to have to tank, Joseph. They're so bad, they might just have to play their hardest and be themselves. I think they'll still get the #1 pick. So let's keep going on this timeline, folks, so we can get to the fantasy part. Robbie Anderson goes. He goes to the Cardinals after Marquise or Hollywood Brown goes down. So now it's DeAndre Hopkins. It's Robbie Anderson. It's Rondale Moore. It's Zach Ertz. That secondary is looking pretty decent, although it was mostly the defense tonight on Thursday Night Football as they beat the Saints. And now, an hour ago, not even an hour ago, CMC goes to one of the most run-friendly schemes in San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan. So let's talk about the people around him real quick. Elijah Mitchell, coming back from injury soon, goodbye. Jeff Wilson, sayonara. Debo Samuel, you're fine. Debo Samuel has his own role. Obviously, he is a wide receiver, and the fact that he gets a couple touches a game out of the backfield, I am not too worried about, to be honest with you. Now, here's where I think the fantasy stock really improves for Christian McCaffrey. Is that even possible, you may ask? There's 2 reasons I think it is. Then we'll answer your fantasy football questions about how this situation pertains to you. Then I'm going to get the heck out of here and go to bed. But I want to make sure I acknowledge this a little bit. So the 49ers run the ball 47% of the time. That's top 10 in the league. It's a 53-47 split when we're talking about run-pass percentage. The Carolina Panthers run the ball just 39% despite having quite possibly the most dynamic running back in the entire league when you're talking about a guy who catches passes out of the backfield. Obviously, that doesn't count as a run unless it's backwards. And then, just runs it off the edge, runs it up the middle. He's strong, he's fast, he's elusive. He's everything you could want in a running back. He's agile. Just keep throwing those adjectives in there, and you have Christian McCaffrey. He is going from Baker Mayfield, a #1 overall pick, who couldn't find anything. He could probably aim at the ground and miss at this point. I hate to be that harsh, but that's how I'm going to critique a guy who has had multiple combinations of pretty good wide receiving cores. You talk about the Cleveland Browns. He had Jarvis Landry. He had Odell Beckham Jr. He had David Njoku. He had Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was really going off for a bit. Then you cycle him over here. Chris Bork, thanks for coming in. Does CMC to the 49ers hurt Debo in fantasy? No, Chris, it does not. Debo is not used out of the backfield a whole lot. Relative to other wide receivers, yes, he is. He'll get the ball 3, 4, 5 times. I think he's still in Kyle Shanahan's creative scheme. Super CNB, how's it going, man? I had to break the breaking news. Wasn't even planning on shooting tonight. Possibly tomorrow or Saturday, but here we are, man. So, Chris, does it hurt Debo in fantasy? No, because this team runs the ball so freaking much. I really just think that CMC is going to take over the carries of Jeff Wilson, of Elijah Mitchell when he comes back, and Kyle Shanahan's still going to find a way to get his dynamic wide back, I guess, wide receiver running back, and Debo Samuel involved. Anytime you have somebody who's averaging 6 to 7 yards per carry, you're still going to find a way to use him. So, Chris, Debo's kind of, he has that utility Swiss Army knife aspect to him. He's going to go out and block. He's going to take a end around. He's going to take a jet sweep. I still think he's still going to go in the backfield. You could see a CMC, Debo Samuel backfield. I still think that Debo gets his usage. I seriously do. I think, if anything, CMC opens up the play action even more for this passing offense. It helps Jimmy the most. Yeah, we're going to get to that one, Joseph. PPR just got offered Swift, Devontae Smith, and Waddle for Diggs and Najee. What do I do? Swift is coming back healthy. Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. Tua is coming back for Stephon Diggs and Najee. Stephon Diggs is a pretty high ask. Najee's a pretty low ask. It's a 3 for 2. You would have to get rid of a roster spot, but I think that's a pretty clean wipe, CNB. Yeah, I might ask for somebody a little more involved right now than Waddle. Understand he's going to get more usage once Tua comes back. But we're going to go through this 49ers thing really quick. All right, so where am I? 47% of the time, the 49ers run the ball, 39% the Panthers. Jimmy G. It helps Jimmy G the most. Joseph, your comment is perfect timing. Let's look at the only thing I have prepared, because I just threw this thing together. It's a live stream. It's reacting to breaking news. So pardon my lack of graphics today. This is GMG's chart, if you will. This is his passer rating throughout the entire field. Okay, so we've got the LOS, aka line of scrimmage there. When you're talking about back, when you are talking about back behind the line of scrimmage, when you're talking about the left and center parts right before the 10-yard. So that's your angle routes, that's your flat routes. That's somebody who can still run out of the backfield and get these routes, unless you see a big wheel route. Those plays down the field, the 42.7, the 0 on the right side of the field, middle, left. I don't really get worried about that when it comes to running backs, because they're going to run those angle routes. They're going to attack those linebackers. They're going to find holes in the zone and just sit. Donald Trump's hair. There's a name. Is that target for your logo? Is Jeff Wilson cooked now? Yeah, he is. I would say sell, but the value is not really there. You could wait to see what kind of production he gets in this upcoming week. But Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sorry, forget about it. CMC is an absolute game changer. Look at where Jimmy G throws, guys. You're looking at, tosses, shovel passes on end arounds, which we've kind of seen to Debo Samuel before, and who knows what we'll see with CMC. You're looking at bubble screens. You're looking at flats. You're looking at angle routes. Those zones, and you see he's a little more comfortable left than right. But in general, within 10 yards and next to him, left and right on the football field, Jimmy G is going to succeed in those areas the most. So there's your chart there. There's the only data I really have on the screen for you. Chris, let's answer your question. Do you think the Panthers are going to go for Akers or another running back, or let the season finish with their current backups? I don't know, man. I could see them possibly going for Akers, going after a running back who had a starting role. If we're talking about Akers coming into this year, kind of got it taken away by Henderson. There was work ethic talk. I could see them going after somebody, on the Broncos right now. This sounds really, really weird, but why not give Melvin Gordon a shot? There was a really weird situation with him last week where he got benched in the second quarter and just never came back out. Gets interviewed by a couple of reporters following the game and gets asked, hey, what happened? And he goes, I have no clue. And they're like, are you hurt? And he goes, no. And they're like, was anybody communicating with you at halftime saying you're not going to get the ball? And he goes, no. So Melvin Gordon was kind of left out on the loop. And I'm not saying the Broncos are ready for a fire sale, but they're not exactly thriving either. I've done videos on that. Russ getting cooked. Russ is not, we're not letting Russ cook. The opposite's quite happening, actually. Broncos country is getting rode straight into the ground. So you could see maybe a Melvin Gordon. You could see a Cam Akers, Chris. You're maybe going to see a running back who just feels misunderstood in his own situation and feels like he can get some carries as well. I would say maybe a Chase Edmonds because Raheem Mostert's kind of taking over those reps in Miami. But Miami's in win mode right now, and they're not really in a situation where they want to mess with that backfield. Miami's trying to take that division, even though the Bills probably going to run away with it. Miami's trying to get in the wild card. Okay, let's keep going. As a Niners fan, I'm glad we got CMC and not the Rams. Thought about the Rams possibly going after, right? Because they have a two-headed backfield, but really, Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers, we're not talking about the most productive running backs right now. It's Henderson out of those two. As a Rams fan, or as a Niners fan, yeah. What do you think about Elijah Moore requesting a trade? Should I pick him up in case he gets traded? So I will spoil it for you right now, Joseph. Yeah, if he gets traded, maybe. But if he stays on that team, if someone has him out there, get rid of him. Because that entire New York offense, and we're talking about the Jets and the Giants here, the New York Jets right now are completely reliant on Breece Hall. And why would you not be? Look at what they've done in the past. Look what they just did to the Packers, a team that cannot stop the run. They got him involved. Guess what, people? As we're talking about the 49ers, a lot of people are mooching off of Kyle Shanahan. They're finding different creative ways to run the ball. Are you noticing a pattern with these quarterbacks on the New York Jets, on the New York Giants, if we want to go back to the 49ers, on the 49ers? They are putting game manager situations. It's not that they're not trusted. It's that they are put in very favorable situations, low-pressure situations. Let's go to the Jets. Breece Hall, he's getting the ball. He's lining up to the left, to the right of the quarterback. It's Zach Wilson out there not going out to beat a team. It's Zach Wilson making sure he doesn't make the crucial mistake. It's Zach Wilson set up behind one of the best play-action schemes out there because he has Breece Hall going up the middle, going off the edge for a stretch, going up in the middle on the left or the right, finding the A or B gap on an HB tackle, going out for a pass. It's those dump offs. It's the threat that Breece Hall poses that allows that allows Zach Wilson's job to be so easy. Because everybody's focused on Breece Hall, maybe you draw a linebacker out of coverage, you get a bit of a running back spy or just a commit up the middle where that's your guy. Now Jimmy G can go, I keep saying Jimmy G, same game manager, right? Zach Wilson can go after a Tyler Conklin. He can go after an Elijah Moore. He can go after a Garrett Wilson. But the frequency is not going to be there because they are pounding it home with Breece Hall. That's how they beat the Packers. If Elijah Moore requests a trade, if you want to pick up Elijah Moore right now and he's on waivers in place of somebody else, just for the sake of seeing if he gets traded, fine, Joseph. But give it a week or so. If nothing's happening, just drop him again. Or pitch it to somebody else. Say, hey, he might get traded. Who knows? Because I think Elijah Moore's situation in New York, and he understands it too, is not optimal. You might see some New York Giants doing the same thing. Your Darius Slayton, Kadarius Toney. I know he's still on his rookie contract because Saquon Barkley's going to get the ball when he's healthy. The thing with them is they are winning a lot, and so are the Jets. So I'm not too sure. If Moore is more taking a team-oriented approach, he'll stay. I thought the Rams were going to trade Akers for CMC. It'd have to be more than that, Cameron. It'd have to be Akers and a pick or 2 or 3, or Akers and Higbee wouldn't matter. They have Kittle over there. Yeah. As an owner of Melvin Gordon in fantasy, I'd love for him to actually be a starter. I agree, Chris. I have him in one of my 4 leagues. Sitting on my bench right now. Javonte Williams goes down with that season-ending ACL tear. Here I am thinking, it's Melvin time. Now you have Mike Boone being used. Now you have Latavius Murray being used. And I'm like, what the heck? Why does this man have 3 touches through 4 quarters? I would love for it to happen too. I'm not really sure that offense understands what's going on right now. Not sure Nathaniel Hackett understands fully what it means to be a head coach over in Denver. There's a lot of pressure. You've got 250-something million buckaroos spent on Russell Wilson to do absolutely nothing so far with a good wide receiving core and Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. That was the pitch, right? So, yeah. Happy for Old Faithful. Dracos, thanks for coming in the chat, man. Make sure, if you're getting some value out of this very short notice live stream and report on CMC and how his trade impacts your fantasy team and the value of the players around him, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. We do a couple streams a week, but just wanted to report on this. Panboo, nice to see you again. I got offered Sutton for D-Hop. Should I accept? I'm the one with Sutton right now. Let me take a look real quick and cheat. I want to see how tonight's game went. Cardinals got in a shootout today. I was reluctant on D-Hop trades before. I am the one with Sutton, and you would be getting D-Hop. The Cardinals' offense is going to be better than the Broncos. Kyler has that dual threat aspect to him as well. Not saying Russ doesn't. There were a few design runs in that loss to the Chargers not too long ago. But when you have a guy like Kyler who can break free at any point, you're going to see a lot more QB spies in the linebacker position. And if you have a Cortland Sutton who runs mostly deep routes, but if he comes in on a quick slant or something, there's a hole in the linebacking core because you have a QB spy almost always assigned to Kyler Murray. Sorry if I'm talking fast, guys. Trying to blurt out a lot of information in a very short amount of time. We're 1 week in on D-Hop. If you're not in a huge hurry, I would say just keep rolling with Sutton for a bit because I kind of want to see a bigger sample size. D-Hop got a clean 20 points tonight. He's one of the best, if not the best wide receiver in the league if healthy. So if you want to take it right now, I am not personally going to blame you. But if I'm in your spot, I'm probably waiting just 1 more week to make sure the value is there, to make sure there's consistency. He looked good tonight. Are you getting D-Hop? But you guys are just talking. I'm back. LOL. Hi, Josh. How are you? The Lockett and Sutton thing didn't work. Okay. Next best idea for Deontay and London. So you have Deontay Johnson and Drake London. Okay, we'll get to you in a second. We're going in order. My bad. Will Niners trade Elijah Mitchell now? Elijah Mitchell or Jeff Wilson will have to go somewhere. And maybe we talk about the inverse of the situation we were just discussing, guys. Maybe one of them goes to, the Broncos and they're looking for a decisive back. And Melvin Gordon comes back in the other direction and he ends up being some depth piece because the league doesn't believe in him anymore. I don't doubt it. A lot of guys, once they're not in a starting role anymore, want trades, which from a team perspective isn't the best thing. You kind of want a guy who's going to be in there in case, somebody goes down like that. What if CMC goes down? Are we really going to act like injuries are foreign here to this man? They aren't. We're looking for the first healthy season in a while from Christian McCaffrey, fully healthy, not just playing, but playing healthy as well. I wouldn't doubt it, Cameron. Yes, Joseph. So you guys are talking about the trade. We'll get to you in a second, Josh. Take that trade off for now. D-Hop will be better than Sutton. D-Hop is a better receiver than Sutton. I was gonna say wait 1 more week, but my goodness, if D-Hop goes off too much, they might not offer. I don't blame you for pressing the button on it right now. Thoughts on CMC's value now for Thomas Rendon? Thomas, this is for you. Pulled this up earlier. The fact of the matter is the Panthers run the ball 39% of the time. The 49ers run the ball 47% of the time, and they find creative ways to do it. And then, Thomas, I brought this up earlier. Jimmy G's chart when it comes to his passer rating across the field. Look at all those checkdowns. Look at all those spots that CMC usually inhabits on pass plays. The angle route up the middle, or the Texas, as some people who play Madden call it. The bubble screens out to the side. If you have them set up out wide, which sometimes the Panthers would occasionally do with that incompetent offense. Maybe you have them running out in the flat. I think that this increases CMC's fantasy value, not only because of this chart I'm showing you, but also because the Niners simply just run the ball more frequently. They win more often, so they're in more of a position to run the clock out towards the end, which is what you do when you're up in a game. You try and milk the clock by running the ball. I'm just worried that Wilson will start to play better, and Sutton is the clear wide receiver 1. Pambu, you could really go either way. Sutton is the clear number 1, but Wilson has not looked good, and I know we're waiting for him to play better, but we are halfway into the season now. I mean, this is week 7. Next week will be week 8, and then we'll actually be halfway through. So we're nearing the halfway point. At this point, we can't be waiting for things to happen too much more. I'm okay with either. I mean, you could even strike that down, and you're still going to get good production out of Cortland Sutton because the team is losing a lot. So I'll be honest with you. I'll be transparent. A team that's losing a lot, they're going to throw the ball to their wide receiver 1 towards the end in garbage time. Or even if just they're down 1 or 2 scores and they need a quick score. I'm cool with either. I think those are both top 10 plays. So, Josh, back to you. Next best idea for Deontay in London. Maybe you wait for them to have a better week. I know I was going the other way and saying, hey, look, these guys had a bad week. We were looking at Sutton and Lockett, who both scored south of 4 points in PPR last week. They didn't bite on it. You need their value to go up. And again, maybe you do a 1-for-1 somewhere else and you try and trade your way up. In general, off the top of my head, let me think of some guys who have been producing well. I mean, it is a package, so maybe you go more the 2-for-1 route because by themselves right now, those two guys, yes, Deontay is technically a 1. He's right there with Claypool, and then London's a 1 as well. Pitt's starting to get a couple more targets. He really just got bailed out by a touchdown last week. That's kind of what I'm thinking with that. Josh, I would almost go for a 2-for-1 if you're really trying to make a splash in the wide receiver market, as long as you have some depth in that flex spot and the wide receiver spot as well. Because right now, in 1-for-1s each side, as you just saw, you went for those low market pulls. It didn't work. So I think we got to try and cash in for a 2-for-1. That's what I would do. Again, Never going to tell you guys what to do with your fantasy team. Just going to give you the research I think that you need to make the best decision. And then I put it in your hands from there. So take that trade off for now. You guys are talking on that. We went to Thomas. Really, I'm just worried that Wilson will start to play better. Excuse me. But D-Hop is the clear number 1 in AZ. And yes, Arizona offense is playing better than the Broncos offense. That's kind of where I'm at, Joseph. I mean, there's more production there. I could play both sides. I really could. Panbu. If you want to jump on that right now, look at what DeAndre Hopkins has done in the past. Injuries have never really been an issue. He had one last year, and he was suspended this year for PEDs. So, I mean, and then he comes back and does this. So unless he gets caught for PEDs again, and I'm not going to sit here and act like he's done it his whole career, first time he got hurt and then he gets in trouble for PEDs, I'd have to look more into it, but it's probably one of those situations where he's just trying to heal better. Steroids are used to help enhance the muscle. I'm not going to get all sciencey on you guys, but when you get hurt, sometimes guys will use steroids to try and let that muscle recovery happen quicker. That's happened with multiple players across multiple sports. We're talking baseball, basketball, and football. Chris, do you think this was just an off day for Ertz production and will continue to get his usual 7 to 10 targets, or should I be worried? Chris, I'm not sure he's going to get 7 to 10 now. People are saying it's kind of an even wash because Marquise Brown is out and DeAndre Hopkins is in. But the fact of the matter is, DeAndre Hopkins is in. Marquise Brown was already going to be out going forward, so here we are thinking Ertz's production is going to go up. So now it's Hopkins. Now it's Anderson in there for Brown. I think he's a bit of a downgrade, but now it's Hopkins and Anderson instead of Brown at the number 1 by himself, and then it's Ertz. They're not running the ball an extreme amount. They're relying on Eno Benjamin right now as James Conner still makes his way back. Chris, I'd monitor it. Ertz, he was a top 5 tight end for a bit, but now you've got arguably one of the best and arguably the most talented wide receiver coming back. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's just an off day because he is the number 1 wide receiver. But then again, Ertz has had a lot of favorable matchups against teams that allow points to tight ends. And then you also talk about the fact that D-Hop's going to take the attention off of Ertz if there was any on him before with Marquise Brown out there. So I'd monitor it. I think he'll still get a heavy dosage. It might take a bit of a hit because, as you just saw, DeAndre Hopkins had 10 catches in his first week back today. He didn't miss a beat. Joseph, I'm 0-6, and I just feel like I'm going to get my first win this week. So far, Kamara's gotten me 14 and Olave 20. Olave's beautiful. I forgot who it was. If you're in this chat right now, asked me if they wanted to give up, or if they should give up Olave for, I forget who the two were, but they weren't exactly consistent. I said, why on earth would you get rid of somebody who's consistently producing for you for 2 guys who are not? Whether you add up their average points or not. One week, these guys are going to get you 7 combined. The next, it's going to be 25. Olave is a great guy out of Ohio State. I think Breece Hall's kind of in the running for Rookie of the Year right now. Well, oh no, never mind. It's AFC, NFC. Olave is right up there. Seriously. I mean, they were talking about him and Drake London, him and Garrett Wilson going at it for the best rookie wide receiver in this rookie class. But yeah, Olave, 20 points. You're going to get that production. And the most impressive part, Joseph, Andy Dalton was quarterback again. It doesn't matter. Olave is going to find a way to get open. Those Ohio State wide receivers, man, there's 2 of them in New Orleans now, in Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. Cameron, we're used to injuries. Yeah, Elijah Mitchell goes out, right? Jeff Wilson's in and out. Raheem Mostert was an injury machine after the first couple of weeks in San Francisco. I remember that. Jeremiah, hi, but Jeremiah, how are you, man? Good to see you hopping on. I'm glad you saw the stream. We'll have to hang out soon, man. Jeremiah's like my longtime friend, everyone. Joseph plus CMC is running behind a way better O-line. Yeah, you want to talk about a difference of that? I'm not here to release, Joseph, I'm not here to like relieve some of the pressure off of, or the blame off of Baker Mayfield, but he was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Now, when he had a clean pocket, did it really matter? No. We can look way back at the tapes where he's missing a check down to Odell Beckham Jr. in Cleveland, where Odell's dad was pointing it out, and he's chucking a deep one to Jarvis Landry in double coverage. I mean, there's many issues there, but O-line was one of them. So you talk about O-line, run usage. They're running the ball more in San Francisco, and the ability for Jimmy G to do very well on checkdowns, as most quarterbacks should, but that's just the way that offense is built. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. No problem, Thomas. Yeah, thought I'd give you some sound reasoning. If you got some value, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Joseph, maybe try Deontay and London for Mike Williams. That's an interesting one. I think you could go bigger for one wide receiver, but maybe you go Mike Williams, another piece. I forget if you were going for This was Josh, I think. I forget if you were going for a flex piece in there, because maybe you could go for a running back too. You could go for like a David Montgomery, who's starting to lose some usage to Khalil Herbert. Or you could go for, honestly, like an all-guyer right now. Well, Cordero will be back soon. Who's another one? I'm thinking on my head right now. Like a Damian Harris, and then you try and use him in the future. Ramondre Stevenson's way too dominant right now. A Devin Singletary even. Devin Singletary's usage is going up slowly, so you'd have to watch that. But I kind of agree with what Joseph is saying. Maybe include Mike Williams in that package. Value's not going to be too high on him. And Keenan Allen's coming back. So maybe there is some reluctancy on the end of the person who has Mike Williams going, yeah, Allen's coming back. I'll deal him. I know every team could obviously use a player like CMC on their team, but the 49ers really need him. Going back up to Chris. I feel like Mitchell and Wilson were good. Bills, Dolphins, Rams, and even the Ravens could have had him. Ravens, I really agree with. I liked J.K. Dobbins in Ohio State, as many people do with running backs from Ohio State. But Chris, if you're talking about the Bills, I mean, Devin Singletary kind of just does his job. I feel like he'd be a wasted talent in Buffalo, because they throw the ball deep a lot, even to their tight end, Dawson Knox. It's Gabriel Davis getting 3 receptions for 90-something or 100-something yards. It's Stephon Diggs all the way down there. They're a heave and hoe kind of offense. It's really just going to kind of beat you over the top, and then occasionally they'll run it to mix it up. They're not going to... I'm sure they would use the passing aspect of CMC, but I'm not sure he would get the volume he needs unless the Bills completely adapt their strategy. And I think if the Bills turn into more of a check down, run heavy team with guys like Gabriel Davis, with guys like Isaiah McKenzie, with guys like obviously Stephon Diggs, top 5 wide receiver right now, that would be a mistake on their part. So I think that was more of a matchmaking issue. Dolphins is an interesting one because you have Raheem Mostert continuously getting hurt, and you've got Chase Edmonds back there. You've got Myles Gaskin, the poor guy, going from 1st to 4th in the depth chart in 1 year. Rams, I agree with, and even the Ravens, I agree with that too. So only one I really had a problem with in that argument was the Bills. Chris, why would they do it? Look what Cameron just said a couple comments ago is what I'm going to do. I'm looking at Cameron saying we're used to injuries. Cameron's a 49ers fan, obviously. You've got the injury woes with Raheem Mostert before, and if we want to talk about the current roster, Elijah Mitchell's out right now. If Jeff Wilson goes down, what do you do? Kind of a sucky situation for Jeff Wilson because he's healthy and he's been producing, but that's just something that you do if you're a run-heavy offense. If you think there's a market out there for you to go out and grab a CMC, a game changer who's going to improve the status of your backfield, don't care who you have, and somebody who you think will fit well in a usually injury-prone running back room. Got a few pick asides, full PPR. Hi, Brock. Welcome here. Just reporting on the CMC trade and kind of how the trade value impacts everybody. Okay, I see. Picking between these groups. Mixon, Godwin, and Jacoby Myers, or Chubb and Pittman. Mixon still doesn't have the highest yards per carry right now. Godwin's been a little bit injury prone. He's still got to get on the same page as Tom Brady, and Mike Evans is still that primary one. He's been getting more targets as of late. Jacoby Myers has actually been getting a lot of passes, but it is still a run-heavy offense, so all it takes is one good day from Devontae Parker. He'll suck up all the targets. You've got Hunter Henry occasionally getting some things there. Don't love him as a fantasy tight end. I think you actually get more in Chubb, a running back in a run-heavy offense who's got high yards per carry, who's got high touchdowns. He's not getting poached by Kareem Hunt in the red zone or anything. And Michael Pittman, who is suddenly part of a very pass-heavy offense. Jonathan Taylor or not, Matt Ryan's thrown the ball at least 35 times in every game but one. So I'm going to go with Chubb and Pittman on the end of that. DJ Moore or Drake London. DJ Moore is kind of on an island right now, and usually I would say, hey, I mean, they're losing a lot, and they just lost Robbie Anderson and CMC. Who else is the ball going to go to? I'm concerned that Baker can't get it to him. DJ Moore, I feel like, could have an occasional explosive day if this team goes up against somebody like the Lions or the Jaguars secondary. With Drake London, at least with Marcus Mariota, who I was talking a ton of crap about before, you've got somewhat of a floor there because he is the number 1 wide receiver, and you know that with DJ Moore too. And with Marcus Mariota being a threat to run, which we saw a little bit more of that before, maybe you'll be able to take some of the attention off of London. London's a bigger body. He's going to go up and get it. You've also got Pitts there, so Drake London is not on an island. He's not going to get double covered up against certain defenses. Chris said those options would be better. I agree from a fit standpoint. Dak or Tua this week. Dak. Dak is going up against a Detroit defense that allows points on points on points on points on points. Bottom 3 in passing yards allowed. We know Dak is a volume passer. I also think Dalton Schultz, who is in my start 2 sit 1 for tight ends this week, I'm starting him. I think Dalton Schultz gets used a lot more. He had 9 targets in week 1. He's had 8 ever since. It's a run-heavy offense with Cooper Rush. He got the job done. He game managed his way through. He did what the Jets, what the Giants, what the 49ers do. Put the ball in the running back or running back's hands in Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard and go from there. Dak for sure. Tua, that was one of the scariest injuries I've ever seen, and I am not ready to trust whatever doctor told him to go out on the field yet that he's 100% right now. I'm sure he is. I hope he is. But that was a scary injury, and Dak is playing against a weaker defense. Tua has more weapons, but I'm going to go with Dak. I think Dak has a higher floor, and I'm more of a conservative fantasy player. Graham, welcome to the chat, man. Brian Robinson, Melvin Gordon, or Mooney at flex. Melvin got completely ignored the last couple of quarters of that last game against the Chargers, so a little concern there. Darnell Mooney goes up against a pretty stout secondary in the Patriots, and the Bears still run the ball more than anybody. So I'm a little concerned about that. Mooney has been going up, so I don't hate Mooney. I'm going to go Mooney or Robinson here because Robinson's going to go up against a Packers defense that just allowed amazing performances for running backs the last 2 weeks. But those running backs were Breece Hall and Saquon Barkley, 2 of the better running backs in the league right now. So I'm going to go Brian Robinson or Darnell Mooney at flex. Couldn't blame me for either. Melvin Gordon is too much of a risk from a usage standpoint. Going to take a couple more questions and get the heck out of here, guys. But if you want to leave any comments at all after this video, I will answer them as well on the account. I'm going to try and give the CMC owner Kamara and Brian Robinson for CMC. He needs running back depth since he doesn't have any running backs on his bench. That's what you got to think of, guys. What does my opponent need? Don't just go in there saying, what do I have to fork over to get what I want? I've brought this up before, and Joseph was probably here for that one. See what they'll value. CMC for Kamara and Robinson. As much as I hate to say it, Kamara's got a risk of being suspended at any moment due to some off-the-field issues, so you have to consider that. Brian Robinson's got some upside. Got his game-winning touchdown last week on Thursday Night Football against my Bears. I think that you get that increased production from CMC because he's in a run-heavy offense relative to the Panthers. He's in an offense where checkdowns are prioritized with Jimmy G. I like it a lot. Better O-line, too. Start ETN or Zeke this week. ETN goes up against... Well, I'll have to check this one, guys. I know it's Titans-Colts, so does that mean it's Jaguars-Texans? Jaguars-Broncos. I like Zeke. I think that the front 7 of the Dallas Cowboys, follow me here, stops the red-hot offense for the most part of the Detroit Lions, and the Lions can't stop them the other way. One of the weakest defenses wire-to-wire of any team out there. I think Zeke gets some of those garbage time touches. Him and Pollard have both been getting enough touches, and even with Dak out there, I think they get involved enough to get some usage. Can't blame you for ETN because he is taking over reps, but Zeke has a more favorable matchup. Dak may be the better play against Detroit D, ranked 31 in passing, but coming back from an injury. Yeah, but they're both coming back from an injury. So is Tua. Yeah, but Tua has the receiving weapons. Right, but you've got CeeDee Lamb. You've got Michael Gallup. People forget. You've got Brown over there who's been doing amazing, and then you've got Dalton Schultz. I can't blame you for either, but Cameron, as Joseph just said, 2 concussions. The second one where Tua's hands were frozen, one of the scariest things I've seen. It's an unprecedented situation. We haven't seen too many of those. People were comparing that to Ryan Shazier, a paralyzation possibility. You know it's a bad sign when you have to see a report that says Tua's limbs are moving after he comes out of the hospital. I mean, the fact that that was even in the question is very horrifying. So I like Dak against the weaker defense. Weapons are a bit... So if we're checking off boxes, right? Dak plays the weaker defense. Dak is coming off a less severe injury. And Tua's got better weapons. I think there's 2 things preventing Tua from using those weapons that could come into play. The 2 horrible injuries, both being concussions in a row, and the second one being really scary. And then we talk about the tough defense he's going up against. All right, we're going to go with Chris, then we're going to go with Donald Trump's hair. And then we'll lock up the stream, and I will answer any questions afterwards as well, before and after I go to bed. I traded Dalvin Cook and Njoku for Mark Andrews, okay? Not bothered on getting Cook out, because even on his best days this year, he looked bad and only got saved by an easy touchdown and a 50-yard run. But Njoku, so you're kind of regretting the Njoku. Chris, I didn't hate the Dalvin Cook. I didn't hate the Dalvin Cook production so far this year. I'm going to be honest with you. I'll go here real quick. Let's see. I mean, you talk about a guy who's definitely been used a lot. The yards per carry could be better, but I'm not mad at it. My mouse has disappeared. 13 attempts, 18 attempts, 20 attempts, 17 attempts. The only time he got less than double-digit targets in general was really against Philadelphia, and that was when that game was over before it started, and the Vikings were forced to go pass heavy. Last 4 wins, this team's been winning a lot, so he gets those garbage time rushes, and you talk about the bailout 50-yard run. I agree with that. Chicago has a bad rush defense. He's been going up against pretty easy defenses, too. When you look at Detroit, when you look at Chicago's front seven, and when you look at Miami, he usually has to get in shutouts to win. So kind of where I'm at on that. Let's see. Yeah, I still like Mark Andrews and the consistency that he's brought forth. That's my only thing with that. So I think you got a good player there, man. I know Njoku, but Amari Cooper's been consistently getting a lot of targets. Njoku's kind of been that second guy. But then you also have the fact that it's a run-heavy offense. So there's going to be some games where Njoku gets 7, 8, 9 points, which right now at the tight end position, you're just praying your guys don't get 0. I'm 2-4, half PPR. Mahomes, Mixon, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Jeff Wilson, rest in peace. Gus Edwards, Khalil Herbert, Garrett Wilson. Should I trade for a wide receiver or ride it out? I don't like Garrett Wilson a whole lot just because, yes, he is the number 1 right there. I mean, he's kind of with Elijah Moore, who's coming into his second year. And then Conklin's a pretty good tight end, but he's not getting used a whole lot either. They are riding it with Breece Hall right now. You need a guy who gets most of... The reason that Deebo Samuel works is, 1, he's involved in the run game, and 2, he is guaranteed a decent amount of targets every single game. He has that rapport with Jimmy Garoppolo. He has that rapport with Kyle Shanahan in that offense. That's why a run-heavy offense has a guy like Deebo Samuel who is able to be reliable at the wide receiver position. The Jets, the Giants, 1, it's a ton of new coaching staff. It's a ton of new players. They're not used to being good. There's not a whole lot of gelling going on right now. We don't know who it's going to be. We don't know if it's going to be Kenny Galladay, who is looking like such an overpay 2 years after that happened, or Kadarius Toney, or Sterling Shepard, who's been there forever, or somebody else. Same with the Jets. We don't know if it's going to be Elijah Moore or Garrett Wilson. There's a lot of young talent, or Conklin at the tight end position, because we don't know if we want to put the ball in Daniel Jones or Zach Wilson's hands to make that happen. Should I trade for a wide receiver or ride it out? I like Mike Will. I like Amari Cooper. Even with Keenan Allen back, I like Mike Will because Justin Herbert, 1, spreads the ball around a lot too, and still he will find Mike Williams a little easier when the number 1 corner is covering Keenan Allen, and Williams is able to use his big body against the number 2. If you want to go for a wide receiver, use a couple guys on your bench. Guys I was talking about before, if you can grab them ahead of Sunday, Cortland Sutton's pretty high up, but Tyler Lockett came off of a sub 5-point performance, so you could try and grab somebody, and maybe your opponent thinks his value has dipped a bit, but I still think Tyler Lockett's a heck of a player, especially if you can throw him in there ahead of Garrett Wilson if you're able to exchange some bench pieces for him. So I say go out for a wide receiver, 2-4. Couldn't be in a, you could be in a worse spot, could be in a better spot. You're kind of in that middle ground right now. 3-4 sure would sound nice going into week 8. I say go out and shop for some wide receivers, but don't give up more than you have to. If you ever have any reluctancy about who you're giving up in a trade, who you're offering, who's being asked for, you can always just go in the comment section and I got you. The fact that he flew back with the team with such a horrible injury tells you a lot about how the team is treating his health. Dalvin Cook's value may go up if Madison gets traded. There's another one. Joseph, there's a lot of running back by committees. I'm looking at the NFC North right now because Dalvin Cook's being looked at. Who's a primary running back there? Who doesn't have someone behind him? I can name all the backups in the NFC North right now. Okay? Dave Montgomery. Khalil Herbert filled in for him. He actually has more yards than him on the year. DeAndre Swift got hurt. Guess what? Jamal Williams was involved anyway. He already has 6 touchdowns on the year. Let's go to the Packers. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon is right there in usage. Just less yards per carry, still involved in the passing game. And then your Vikings over here. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison. This happens all over, with the exception of your CMC, which is why I think Jeff Wilson and Elijah Mitchell are going to go bye-bye. But Jonathan Taylor. We know who Hines is. I can name him. He's more involved in the passing game. That is about it. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's a juggernaut. Look at that. Kareem Hunt's still in there for support. It's that run heavy of an offense. You need multiple guys back there. Saquon Barkley, we're not really seeing anybody use behind him. Breece Hall right now, it's still Michael Carter. He pretty much took his job after 1 year. So Dalvin Cook's value may go up if Madison goes. Not sure Madison's going to want to go. Tino, what's up, Corey? How's it going, man? I'm going to answer these last couple questions and actually go. So, Zachary Stimmel, you are the last one. If anything comes after, I'll answer it after the stream. Just make sure you drop the comment once the stream is done. Yeah, Tino, I'm doing good. Kareem Hunt, yeah, good example. What do I do now with Jeff Wilson? Wait and see if he produces for 1 week and then try and get some value out of him. I really don't think Wilson's going to be much of a factor with CMC back there. It's a run-heavy offense, check-down reliant. All of those check off the boxes for CMC. They run the ball more frequently than the Panthers, so maybe there's a spot for Wilson, 6 to 8 targets or something, but who knows? You think he will play this week? Kind of screws me, Zach. I heard he'll be just in the red zone. Yeah, they'll probably cycle him in. Kind of agree with what Tino's saying right now, Zachary. No problem, Joseph. Anytime, man. Yeah, I kind of agree with Tino here. You got to look at the usage he's going to get. I mean, he's being cycled in on a Thursday night, so he doesn't have too long to learn the playbook. And when you have a guy who has the route tree of CMC, you kind of have to learn the playbook a little more than most at that position. So, Zach, monitor his activity in practice. It is too early to tell since this trade just went on. But kind of just see where Shanahan's head is at there, to be honest with you. Some coaches are pretty transparent. Matt LaFleur just straight up came out last week and said, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon should be getting about 30 touches a game. Us fantasy owners eat that up. I mean, he just told us what he's going to do. We don't know what's going to go to who. It's going to depend on production from each person, but we know at least that we have process of elimination and we have a range for how much they're going to get used. Melvin Gordon or James Robinson this week? James Robinson, probably, because of the drama with Melvin Gordon. They're going toe-to-toe, which is pretty interesting. So Melvin faces the weaker defense. I think James Robinson. Slightly more involved in the pass game when getting snaps as well. But it is very close. I would... Because James Robinson and Etienne are 50-50 right now. Melvin Gordon was pretty much expelled from that last game. And unless something comes out, like a mistake he made and he's guaranteed to get more this time, I'm very wary on Melvin Gordon right now. I really am. All right, that's going to be it for the stream, guys. Just wanted to break some news for you on CMC. Go back in the video if you want to see how CMC... Well, you probably know he got traded at this point. That's why you clicked on it. But if you want to get a little more in-depth context on what happened with CMC, what's going on in that fire sale in Carolina, and most importantly, how does it impact your fantasy team? How does it impact guys like Jeff Wilson? Dead. Elijah Mitchell, gone. I really think the impact there is dead in the water. And Deebo Samuel, I think he'll be fine. Jimmy G, I think the stock rises because he's built on the check down. He's a game manager who's not going to lose you the game. He's not going to win you the game. He's going to do what he can to advance the ball on the field, and CMC does a lot with that. Will, welcome, man. I'm just heading out. Jeff Wilson, I think the usage is going to go down. If you want to get out of there with something, see if Jeff Wilson produces. The 49ers run the ball more than the Panthers, so I know that CMC may not get all of that pie, but he'll get a decent amount of the usage. Jeff Wilson's just, I don't know if he'll be completely left out to dry, but the production's going to go down a lot. So we kind of just got to slot somebody else in for him, see what he does this week, and see what we can get for him for value. Guys, I'm Corey. This is Armchair Athletes. We do a couple streams a week, plenty of shorts a week, and other videos to help you out with your fantasy team as well. We report on the general sports world as well. We just try and keep all of you as informed as possible. So I hope all of you have a great night. Enjoy fantasy football this week. We'll stream later on, and we will see you next time.